Hi, I'm Jay, welcome to my channel. Today I'm going to do a tutorial showing how I make a cloth-based mask. I hope you find it useful. I've chosen materials that I think most people have readily to hand at home. So this is going to be a no elastic version. I don't think many people have elastic at home unless they sew on a regular basis. So here's the design. It's got string at the top to secure over the nose, similarly under the chin, and the side pieces will hook over the ears. I hope you like it. A nice straightforward design that's easily customizable. And to enable you to do that, I've also provided the free pattern for this mask, which you can get within the class. We're going to draft it together. So if you haven't got access to a printer right now, no problem. You don't have to download anything. Now, let me just say, these aren't a substitute for medical grade PPE. You still have to practice your social distancing and your hand washing. But as people are choosing to wear masks, and indeed some governments are mandating people wear masks in public spaces, I think it's lovely if you can customize it to suit your own taste. I mean, why not? That's what sewing allows you to do, the freedom to be an individual and not just wear the same run-of-the-mill stuff that everybody else has. Now, I hope you find this enjoyable and useful. Please feel free to comment. Please subscribe if you like it. I'd be very grateful. And let's get making. Okay guys, a few of the things you're going to need to make this mask today. You're going to need a ruler or a tape measure, obviously the fabric, if you have it interfacing to give the fabric a little bit more stability, which goes in between the two layers, string, shoelaces, cord, ribbon, whatever you have to hand, scissors, or maybe a rotary cutting tool, pins, needles, ironing board, and if you have it, as I have here, I'm fortunate enough to have a tailor's ham, which I'd use to press some of my round seams. If you haven't got that, no worries. That's not exhaustive, but that's mainly the main things you're going to need. Oh yeah, and a sheet of blank paper, because we're going to draft the pattern now. Alright, let's draw our mask. So if we draw a rectangle, 14 centimeters, so 14.5 centimeters by 14. And label each corner A, B, C and D in that order. Yeah. Then what we're going to do is from A, we're going to mark down 1 centimeter and call that 1. From B, we go up 4 centimeters and mark that 2. From 3, we mark C, sorry, we mark back 1.5 centimeters. Call that 3. From C, we mark up 7 centimeters and we call that 4. From D, we mark across 2.5 centimeters. We call that 5. And again from D, we mark back 7 centimeters and we call that 6. And then from 6, we mark down 1.5 centimeters and we call that 7. And then we start joining dots to make the mask. So from 3 to 2 is a line. From 2 to 1 is a line. Then we start freehanding back to the smaller pen. So this is your ear. And this is your nose, or tip of your nose. No, bridge of your nose even. Your tip will be down here somewhere. And this is why this is going to be curved to accommodate the curve of your face and the fact your nose protrudes. So we're going to have a curve under the eye around here. So from point 7 to point 1 is going to be a curve, which we can freehand like this. Then from point 5 to point 7, that curve continues. This will be the curve that goes under your eye and up to your ear. This will be the bridge of your nose. This has to meet up with 3 here. So I'm going to freehand. I'm going to come slightly outside 4 actually. So we make a curve and then we come round to meet the 3. That essentially is your mask pattern. You could get out a curved ruler and draw this, but we are able to do it freehand. Yeah, that is the mask in essence. Now I'm going to mark the straight of grain. I'm going to use the back of the mask as the indication of where my straight of grain is. So I'm going to mark my straight of grain mark here. That runs parallel to the back of the mask, so I know where that is. Now, when it comes to cutting this out in fabric, I suggest that you mark on the wrong side of your fabric E for ear and N for nose, just so you don't get the pieces of the pattern mixed up. And I'm going to annotate this now so I know what this is in the future. I remember this is my mask pattern. So I'm going to put J's mask pattern, nose, ear, I can even put C for chin. I'll just write chin in there. So I know what this is. We need a seam allowance of about 1 centimetre. This will be our stitching line. And I'm going to give the fabric an allowance of about 1 centimetre all the way around. And that will be the line we actually cut this out of. So when we cut the fabric, this line that I'm drawing now will be the line we cut on the fabric. And then we can start seeing this take shape. So obviously this is my design, and if I get bored of this, I could make the dip below the eye maybe deeper. I could play around and customize this to use elastic. Basically the sky's the limit, but for this version we're going to do an elastic free mask. So there we go. Let's draw this round. So we cut here, we cut here. So that essentially is the pattern. What we will do now is start gathering our fabric, and if we have it, interfacing with a view to cutting out 4 of these. We'll need 4 in fabric and 2 in interfacing. The reason I say it's times 4, because this is half of your face, from your ear to your nose. You'd need this again reversed, its sister, to get the full piece of material to cover your face. So basically when you've done this, just quickly cut this out to demonstrate. When you've done that one piece, that's half the mask, you will have to have the mirror image like that cut out of fabric. And again, because we're making the inside of the mask look as good as the outside, you'd have a 3rd piece this way and a 4th piece that way. So when you cut a piece like this and a piece like this, they'll join together at the nose. Something like that. This is one I cut before, so yeah, they will meet together. This is where we'll sew them together here. The first stitching we'll do will be these 2 pieces being stitched together, and that'll be the front of your face. The seam will be at the front. So like I've done on this piece, what we'll do is fold this along the straighter grain line and mark that on the back. So if you use this pattern to get the mirror image on the fabric, because you may be cutting them out singly. So one piece here, one piece there. You'll need to know where the straighter grain is. If you had enough fabric, you could maybe just fold the fabric in 2 and put the pattern piece on like that, if you had enough material. So I'm going to go ahead and cut these out of my fabric and my interfacing. I've decided to use this nice sunny yellow fabric today, and then we'll come back and start looking at putting the pieces together. So here are my 4 pattern pieces all cut out, happy to say. So what I did was add interfacing to the wrong sides of one piece, or of the front or the back, whatever, but I put the interfacing on the 2 mirroring pieces on the wrong side. The interfacing I had was self-adhesive, that's why it was shiny. Let me show you on one side. That's the shiny side, so that means it's self-adhesive. But if you haven't got any interfacing and you want to make your mask a bit more firm or a bit more sturdy, the option would be to use a small piece of cotton, a lightweight cotton, and sew it to the inside of a piece within the seam allowance, if that's what you had to do. But you could roll without it. It just makes, I just like my mask to be a little bit more firm. And we've used a tightly woven cotton as it is a mask that we're making. We want something that stays up on our face. We want something that makes us feel like it's covering our face and stopping our breath from touching other people if it's germs that we're wearing this for, and we're feeling a bit more comfortable about covering our faces. Obviously, I have to say it's not PPE, it's not a medical grade mask, but it is a face covering nonetheless. So what I'm going to do now, as promised earlier, I'm going to stitch these pieces together, noses together. So these 2 will match and these 2 will match, and we'll pin these together. Pin these together to ensure that we know where we are. So we pin them right sides together, and when we open them up, we'll have a deep curve at the front that we'll have to clip to make sure that we can get that seam open and it looks smooth and nice. So we'll pin these together. And then we'll stitch. So that's one side. So ears at the top, that's just seam there. We'll do the same with this one. And then we'll stitch them together along the 1 centimetre seam allowance that we indicated previously, if you recall. Yeah, so that's what we will do. So I'm going to go ahead and get the machine ready and start stitching that. And then this is my favourite point, I have to say, when we get the pattern pieces cut out and we start pinning things together, it looks like something's actually happening, and that's the most joyous part for me, apart from completion and wearing it. I like this part. This is the part where I feel things are happening. So I'm going to get the machine and we'll start making it together. Alrighty, let's stitch now on this 1 centimetre seam allowance. I'm going to stitch in black, which is not really what I'd normally use, but I want you to see what I'm doing, so let's stitch it in black. Without stitching over the pins. Right, so we've stitched this. Fronts together, remember? So nose to nose. So we have ear on each side. So when you open it up, it looks something like this, very tight. That's the sewing. So if you can see, it's made a curve. That's to accommodate your nose. It's like a bra cup now. So that's what we want. So we'll do the same on the other side. But when you sew the other side, as you do this one, remember, you've got to clip, or notch, I should say, notch this open. Get your scissors and cut the triangle out. Notch, 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 and keep going. It will help open this curve out for pressing. Because I'm going to go to the ironing board and press this seam open. So if you can see, I've notched that and it releases it a bit. It's not so tight. You can actually see the seam you're going to have. You can actually see the seam you're going to have there. So we'll notch the stitch the other side, notch, and we'll press this open. I have a tailor's ham, which I think I may have not shown you earlier. Basically, it's a curved contraption that I put under here, and it will let me press around it, and that will help me get the curve. But if you haven't got that, what you'll just have to do is just press and try and get into here as much as you can to get this seam open. Pieces marked, so pieces pressed and opened. So there's our seams here. I'll open to the best of my ability. Struggling, to be honest with you, but there you go. They're open now, so there's the seams. So what we're going to do is, I think we can trim these down a little bit more. Don't see why not. I'm going to trim it down a little bit more. It looks a little bit big to me. I can lose a lot of this, I think. So let's carefully trim it without damaging the integrity of the garment itself. Let's give it a little trim. Yeah, that's better. Perhaps I haven't that material in there. Shake that off. Same with the other side. I think I'll trim that down a bit as well. No need for it to be that big. Right, okay. That's carefully trimmed. Now what we're going to do is put inside to outside. It's up to you which side you want to be your inside, it doesn't matter. But what we want to do is get, so ears, and ears together, right sides together. Pin these, joining the middle. Yeah. Joining the middle. Is that join there? Yep. Joining the middle. Joining the edges. And we'll stitch along the 1 centimetre stitching line again. So we can have front to inside. It's actually taking shape now. I can see what's happening, and that makes me happy. So I'm interested to see what kind of fabrics you're going to use for this, and if you're going to make any tweaks to the design. I'll be interested to see, because this is the basic pattern. We can do whatever we like with this. Let me do a quick line of stitching as I have you here. So 1 centimetre line. Just stitch this up. Careful when you get to the middle, everything's a little bit thicker here, and you've got a pin right in the center. We don't want to aggravate that pin. We'll take it out. Yep. There we go. Around. When these pieces come together, it'll start to feel like you're achieving something. Right. Okay, now. So after you've positioned ear to ear and you've sewn the front of your mask to the back of your mask, you clip like we did before, and then we trim. So you sew ear to ear, front to back, and then stitch in the 1 centimeter seam allowance, and then you trim it down. We clip, which is different to notching, which is just clip, 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 and we cut down. Cut it down a bit smaller so it's a bit more manageable. And then what we can do is in the middle here, where it's always a little bit thicker, you can trim that down a bit more. Always trim that down a little bit more in the middle. Press the one seam to one side, preferably to the bit that you want to be the inside of the mask, and then we press over to make a nice looking mask. So our mask was sewn together at the top, ears together, sewn, clipped, trimmed, pressed. Mask is looking something like this now. So basically put it into, you can kind of see the pattern as it was. So before I go any further, I want to neaten up the side seams. I'm going to fold them in on themselves just a little bit and give them a row of stitching right near to the edge. So what I mean is like this. I could pin it, I'm not going to. I'm just going to stitch it. And trim this bit down a bit. It's going to be a little bit thick on the seam. I don't really need the excess bulk, especially coming from the interfacing. Cut that down. Okay, keep going. The thickness of that seam sounds different. You see, okay? Yeah. Right. So I'm going to do the same on the side, and then when we come back we will do a row of top stitching right to the edge of here. All pinned up with top stitching. While I top stitch, let me ask if you think a denim look would suit this. That's what I'm going for, that sort of a top stitch look. It's so thick here, honestly. This material is like a cotton drill. It's unwilling. Let me start it off by hand. Yeah, I wonder if you think that'd be nice. Sort of a denim top stitching look. I think that could look quite good. Right. I think that'll look alright. Because after this row of top stitching, what I'm going to do is do another row of top stitching, which is a decorative feature, but it's more a practical feature. That's going to be the channel that we use to put our thread through, our string, our shoelace, whatever we have to hand. That's what that'll be for. So this is just a decorative one. This isn't really necessary or functional. I just thought it would look nice. This pin is going to be a pain. It's a big headed pin. So I think it'd be a good look to do that. Okay. Right, top stitching done. So going to go ahead and do another channel for the string. Actually, one thing I forgot to do, let me pick out this little bit at the end. Let me show you a real life mistake, is I forgot to neaten the edge as I did with this one earlier. Forgot to neaten the edge in the same way, so I'm going to take out this little bit of top stitching and do that now, and then when we come back we can start doing the channel for the string. So like before, turn this over and stitch. So now sides are neatened up and tops are sewn together. What we'll do for the bottoms is something similar to what we've done to the rest. Fold it over about just under the heart, just under the centimetre mark. Fold it over, iron it like that, iron it along like that, so the whole inside is turned in and ironed. Same for the other side, and then we'll stitch the two folded in pieces together with a top stitch so it looks like the top. Yeah, so if we can do that now, iron and pin, sew together, and then these two bottoms will be sealed, and then we can see the mask taking shape. If you find any particularly bulky bits at the seams, you can trim them down before you sew those two seams together. When the bottom edge is pressed, you can see this, the form of the mask starting to take shape. So after it's pinned together and stitched, edge to edge, side to side, we can start working on the channels for the strings or the laces or whatever you've got to use to secure the mask around your head. And then we'll be at the finishing furlong. So what I'm going to do is continue pinning and do a stitch of top stitching as previously, so this will replicate this. After top stitching and pressing, mask is looking like a mask now. This is really it. So sorry, that's upside down. So that's your ears, and your chin comes under here. So it's looking more like a mask now, which is great. But the thing is, we need to get the string through, and the string I'm going to put through here and here. So to do that, I'm going to stitch a channel of stitching along each side to accommodate the string. Now this is this type of string I'm going to be using. It's really not really a string, it's more an internal seaming for seams, but I find it'll make a good cord. Strong, durable, cut it to the length I want. So what's the end of this? Right, here's the end. Right, so I know roughly how long I need it to be to fit my head. It's got to obviously go the full length of the mask and have enough to tie and get round your head. So that would be probably about enough for me. I can guesstimate. Come round, come round, come round, come round, and do the same again the other side. So I know for me that's enough. Then we need a safety pin or similar to put around the cord, and that's what we use to put it through the channel. So I have to guesstimate the width of the channel that I need. So if I put my cord here, I can say, well, my cord's here, I'm going to have to give it enough width to get through. Say about here. I wouldn't risk doing it any smaller than that, just in case it won't go through. So the pins, safety pins, got to go through as well as the cord. So I'd make it this width minimum. Same on the other side, and then we can pull the cord through, and then the mask will be, to all intents and purposes, done, which would be fantastic. So I'm going to sew the channels and pull the strings through. Channels are being sewn. So I've done one, then the second, being careful in the middle. So this is almost like a denim effect. Yeah. So all we have to do now is get our thread, our pin, and feed it through. Now the hard bits are always the beginning, the middle, and the end. So once you get past here, that's one hurdle, and I'm not even getting past there yet. The other channel is stopping the safety pin from opening, but what you can do sometimes is a good idea to do is put sellotape around the top of the pin. Oh, got through the second hurdle, that's positive. Oh. Yeah, as expected, trouble at the, oh, through. Fantastic, that's the top bit done. And the safety pin stuck right there. So you, as it's showing you, you can gather at the top. Let's get rid of these stray threads, what they're doing there. Yeah, fantastic. It has a sort of a Kill Bill vibe. I think it's because the the yellow and the black. So if we cut some more cord, again, your neck is smaller than your head, top of your head. This is the bottom, so you need enough to go around the back of your neck. Probably that'll do. Come round and round, and a bit more for your neck there. You could always add to it if it's too short. And you do the same again with your safety pin and pull it through, hopefully as successfully as the last one. We'll see. It started off well. See, so we keep going. Oh yeah, as predicted, issues in the middle. I circumvented that. There we go. Pull it through. Take out your safety pin. Celebrate. Your mask is done. So here's a finished mask. You can refer back to the tutorial and make your own creations, which I'd really love to see. I'm really keen to see what you come up with. So I'm on Instagram. You can catch me at Miss J Sews, and I also have a blog primarily about sewing, which is also missjsews.blogspot.com. So thanks for sewing with me. Please subscribe, and I'll see you next time.